Let's start, however, in West Africa, where Mali's high-stakes presidential election has been won by Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta after his rival, Somalia Cisse, admitted defeat in the second-round runoff. Local and international observers have hailed the poll as a success, but the 68-year-old inherits a polarized nation after the country is torn apart by a military coup in March last year and the north seized by Tuareg separatists and Islamist rebels. IBK, as is also known, will now be under quite a bit of pressure to reconcile this fractured country. CCTV's Clementine Logan now reports.
Mali now has a president-elect. Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta reportedly took a strong lead during vote counting. This is perhaps what prompted his sole rival, Somalia Cisse, to concede defeat. Just hours after complaining that the vote had been marred by fraud, Cisse was quoted by a news agency as congratulating Keïta and wishing him luck. The apparent victor, IBK as he's fondly known, is a familiar face in Mali. He served as Prime Minister between 1994 and 2000. Now he inherits a broken nation and is under pressure to quickly rein in and train the armed forces, as well as negotiate peace with northern Tuareg fighters who want more autonomy from the capital, Bamako. Keïta has promised inclusive talks with Tuareg separatists. And in the wake of the crisis that exposed Mali's deep divisions, most Malians want the new government to work towards reconciliation.
When he gets to power, he must work with others. He must not let the power get into his head and say, no, the Malians chose me, it is only me who decides. No, in a democracy, you must not try to get revenge on others.
Keïta's win gives him a strong mandate to undertake reform in one of the world's poorest countries, and he now has access to $4 billion in international development aid. He'll also get support on the ground from a 12,600-strong UN peacekeeping mission designed to tackle any outbreaks of Islamist violence. International and local observers have called the election a success despite some minor irregularities. Speaking on Monday, European Union observers were optimistic that Mali could now emerge from its political crisis.
I think that this election, from a democratic standard point of view, is a success. It's an election that now allows Mali to start finishing the process that it has begun, to return to a normal democracy. It allows them to address not only economic problems, but at the same time, the internal political problems of the country.
Official results are expected in the next few days, and Mali's constitutional court has until Friday to certify them. Clementine Logan, CCTV.
Let's take a quick look at Mali's president-elect right about now. Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, also known as we just said by its initials IBK, ran in the presidential elections with the Rally for Mali party. But this veteran politician has served in government before as prime minister between 1994 and the year 2000. The 68-year-old is also known for his relatively tough stance towards northern rebels who are demanding more autonomy from the south. In addition to that, Keïta supporters refer to him in their language as Kengele Tengui, a man who is of his word in Bambara, that particular language. And Malians, of course, will also be waiting to see if indeed he will live up to his campaign pledges to revive the country, which of course has been through quite a bit of chaos ever since that coup in 2011. Let's get the latest now on Mali's presidential elections. We're now joined by CCTV's Kate Parkinson. She's in the Malian capital of Bamako. Kate, it does seem we have a winner earlier than expected. What are the reactions so far?
Well, unsurprisingly, the concession by Somalia Cisse has been met with delight by supporters of Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. They, of course, hoped their man would win. They expected him to win. He has been tipped as the front runner from the beginning of this presidential race. But now Cisse has conceded defeat. There is great joy from supporters of Keïta that he is, in fact, going to be Mali's next president. It's also been met with surprise because it was only yesterday that supporters of Cisse were complaining of election fraud and vote stuffing, ballot stuffing, and there was an expectation here in Bamako that even before the results had been officially announced that Cisse was going to contest them. That was not something that people here were too happy about. Nobody wanted a long, protracted battle here. They wanted a clean win, and it does seem that that's happened now. Cissé went and offered his concession in person to Keita last night, congratulating him on his win. And even though we still don't have an official announcement on the vote count, it is as official as it can be when Cissé steps down from the race, that Ibrahim Boubacar Keita is going to be Mali's next president.
Indeed. Let's focus on that particular candidate you just touched on. Mr. Cissé Elion Mundu is complaining about irregularities, and now, barely 24 hours later, he's conceded the race altogether. What caused that change of heart?
Well, Cissé's spokesperson said that it did become increasingly clear as the day went on that Ibrahim Boubacar Keita was winning. IBK, as he's known, his camp had said that he'd won a clear majority in the capital, Bamako, but that's not a huge surprise. He does have a lot of support here. But Cissé's camp said when it became clear that Keita had also won in the northern region of Gao, that was when they realised that the race was over. Now, Cissé is holding a press conference here in Bamako this morning, and we should be given more explanation as to how that decision was taken. But it does appear from his camp, from his spokespeople, that as the day went on, it became increasingly clear that the margin was significant enough for Keita to have a clear win, and so the decision was made to step back and offer his congratulations to Keita.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that update. That's CCTV's Kate Parkinson live in Mali. She's been keeping tabs on the elections, and we'll have more updates on that at 1700 GMT. Let's move on to Nigeria now, where it's feared that over 30 people have been shot dead at a mosque in the northeastern part of the country on Sunday. According to officials in Borno State, the attack occurred in the town of Konduga during dawn prayers, even though that report only emerged late on Monday. Communication channels have been disrupted there by a state of emergency, which has been in place since mid-May. Nigeria's Daily Post newspaper reported that a further 26 people were being treated for injuries in hospital in the state capital of Maiduguri. Residents described men dressed in military camouflage killing dozens of people returning from their morning prayers. The gunmen are suspected to be from the Islamist group Boko Haram, which has killed thousands of individuals in Nigeria since 2009, and it wants to impose Sharia law in Nigeria's north. In May, President Goodluck Jonathan launched an offensive against the group in its northeastern stronghold, but the insurgency so far remains quite active. Let's get some more information on that attack in northeastern Nigeria. CCTV's Chima Nwankwo is on the phone from Abuja in Nigeria. Chima, this is yet another spate of killings in northeastern Nigeria. What more details are we getting on what exactly happened?
And just like you said, the mobile networks in the northeast Nigeria were cut since the state of emergency took effect in May, so there's not really much information coming out of there. But right now, there are conflicting security reports, because right now, the popular figure being bandied about by the Joint Task Force there is that 30 people were killed in the attack on the mosque. But an eyewitness there who is with the civilian vigilante in Maiduguri there said that he counted 44 corpses on the ground. The story, just like you said, is that some government dressed in battle fatigue came in and they opened fire on the worshippers at a mosque. Right now, actually, there's not much information coming out of the place, and the Joint Task Force spokesperson is on leave. He's not in Maiduguri right now. And then the information to Christopher Olukolade says that he doesn't have much information there, but that, as he does his facts, he's going to be able to say more in the course of the day. But what we do know is that what is certain is that this attack was carried out by Boko Haram, because we've seen a video on YouTube with the leader of Boko Haram, who was wanted by the U.S. government, Abubakar Shekau, and he says that Boko Haram clearly was responsible for the attack, and that Boko Haram has been responsible for the attack in half a dozen other towns in northeast Nigeria, and because Boko Haram is still going on, it's still strong, and will carry out even more attacks in the future and will kill even more Nigerian soldiers. So right now, it's clear who did it, it's clear what the motive is, and it's clear that Boko Haram are the ones behind it all.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that update. That's CCTV's Chima Nwankwo from Nigeria's administrative capital of Abuja, concerning the events in the northern end of the country, where about an estimated 30 people are thought to have been killed on Sunday. Time for a short break. Here's what's coming up next. Pulling apart, Tunisia braces itself for a fresh round of protests by the opposition. And freedom delayed. The reasons why Egypt's ousted president is still under restriction by the army. We'll be looking at that in detail. Come back.
We follow the latest trends in global politics, economics, culture and sport, and how Africa fits into the global picture. You decide what's important.
We need some trade and customs.
Africa's future will be determined by Africa.
For women's equal opportunity, for a better life.
We have to change something, and it's not the outsiders.
Talk Africa, a new voice for the world.
Welcome back. Tunisia has carried out airstrikes on Islamist militants holed up in the Mount Chambi area near the Algerian border, according to a source in the army. Now, this comes as a campaign against radical jihadis under pressure from the secular opposition intensifies. Tunisia's opposition is demanding the resignation of the Islamist-led government. It also wants to dissolve the Constituent Assembly, which is now weeks away from finishing a draft constitution and an election law as well. Now, the opposition secularists have called for mass rallies on Tuesday, and they aim to announce what they call an alternative salvation government next week. The opposition also says it will make some important announcements during Tuesday's rally. Let's get some more details on what's happening in Tunisia. We're now joined by CCTV's Rui Rutenberg. He's live in the Tunisian capital of Tunis. Rui, this big rally really called by opposition secularists essentially just adds to the pressure on the government. But is it likely to further fracture this country?
Well, that's unclear at the moment. We know that on Monday night, Rashid Ghannouchi from the moderate Islamist party Ennahda here met with leaders from the unions, the trade unions. They met for 4 hours, and those meetings ended inconclusively. Ghannouchi saying that he felt the meetings were positive, but we didn't hear the same thing from the trade unions. Now, a lot of the tension has been building up, specifically following the slaying of two secular opposition politicians, and as well as the slaying of 8 Tunisian soldiers in that mountain area that you were talking about near the border of Algeria. So the government here coming under more pressure to do something about that. Now, with the other rally that we shouldn't forget about is the fact that there is this opposition rally coming, and it's happening in coordination with Tunisian Women's Day. But here, just a bit of a note about how much this country is now divided, like many people didn't expect would happen a year or two ago. There is also a women's rally being held by Ennahda at the same time, a rally that's meant to show what the government has done for women's rights. And one of the reasons that the opposition is holding a rally is that they say that this Islamist-led government is taking the country in a direction that many people here, particularly the seculars, don't want to see. And one of the points they highlight is the rights of women. So again, we see that split just here today between those two rallies.
Indeed, we'll have to leave it there for the time being, though. Thank you very much for that. That's CCTV's Rui Rutenberg live from the Tunisian capital of Tunis on the latest in that country's political crisis. On to Egypt now. The judiciary has extended the ousted President Mohamed Morsi's detention for another 15 days. The judiciary said it was extending his detention pending an investigation into his alleged collaboration with the Palestinian Islamist group Hamas, which it currently is in charge of Gaza. Morsi is said to be questioned on whether he collaborated or not with Hamas in attacks on police stations and prison breaks in early 2011. Now, that is, of course, when Islamists and other political inmates escaped during the popular revolt which ousted Hosni Mubarak. Overthrown by the military on the 3rd of July, Morsi was then placed in detention on the 26th of the same month. But Morsi loyalists continued to march through Cairo in defiance of the expiry of a government ultimatum to dismantle their huge protest camps. The supporters have kept in place 2 sit-ins in the capital, and they say they will not leave until Morsi has been reinstated. Time for another short break. Here's what's coming up in business.